It's been a while since we last did a best classes to rank in LOTRO solo edition, so let's go ahead and redo it again. But before we can do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out so much, and I greatly appreciate it. So quickly, I just want to go over what classes are available to play right now in Lord of the Rings Online. First, we have Beorning, which is more of like a tank or healing DPS type of role. This is like your bear slash shapeshifter type of class. Next is Burglar, which is a support-based class that also has stealth abilities. Then Captain, which was one of like the original type of well-rounded tanks, and I say well-rounded because it could be a tank, mostly also focusing on DPS and have some support buffs and debuffs for classes as well. So they're pretty much like a very well-rounded class. But then of course we have Champion, which is well notable for being like an offhand tank or a very much DPS oriented class. But what really makes them stand out is that they have a variety of AoE skills. Then there's Guardian, which is probably like the most OG type of tank we have in this game, definitely with like taunts and attacks, and also has a DPS stat behind him. Then there's Hunter, which is like your Legolas bow and arrow class, definitely more ranged abilities, has great DPS outputs as well. Next we have Lore Master, which is one of the more advanced classes if you ask me to learn in Lord of the Rings Online. It definitely deals more support-based things with a lot of crowd control emphasis. Then there's Minstrel, which is like a OG healer for the game. It's a little bit outdated in some aspects, I won't lie, but they definitely have one of the best DPS outputs, which is crazy because they're supposed to be a healer main, but definitely one of the best DPS outputs. Minis or minstrels are definitely more comparable to like bard classes and other MMOs. Then there's Rune-Keeper, which is pretty much like a great, perfect, well-rounded mix of a healer-based class and also a DPS class. Then there's Warden, which I feel like Warden is probably the most intricate class. They have a javelin, they have a shield, they're very much a DPS output offhand tank class, lots of different abilities to them that are long range and melee, so it definitely helps that out. And then lastly, the newest class, Mariner, which has just recently been added. It is a support-based class, so it's pretty much melee, but it also has notable like evasion tactics or defense skills as well. So one thing that has changed drastically about me is that I have definitely given Warden a little bit more of a chance and opportunity to prove itself to me, and I'm pretty well known for disliking the class. I really owe Louis7 just a little bit of credit to this because he did get me into a different perspective on Warden, and I'm not saying they're the best class, okay? I'm not saying that yet, but I won't say that they're the worst anymore. In fact, they actually really jumped up on my ranking list, so I'm gonna surprise you all right now. Warden's going to B-list tier, okay? Why do I put Warden on B-list tier? It's as simple as this. So a lot of my issue with the class, and still remains, is the gambit system. I feel like the gambit system, especially for newer players, is so well like complicated when it doesn't have to be. I think that there's a lot of ways that we can kind of differentiate that, and I feel like I've explained it well enough at this point in other videos, so if you want like a deep dive into it, just check out this one video that I'm going to link up above here. Now, while I might still have issues with the class, I will say that they are a pretty well-rounded class. I mean, they have a variety of different skills that you can quickly navigate through without really having dealing with cooldowns, which is like a huge plus. Either way, you can do a variety of different skills. You can do healing over time skills if you want like a big direct attack hit to an enemy, you can do that, or you can do damage over time abilities. You just really have to memorize the gambits, which is probably why I just don't like the class. I feel like you don't need to have as many gambits as we currently do, but I'll rest my case on that. I just think that overall this is a really well-rounded class, and I like having more flexibility in classes in LOTRO. But overall, I'm gonna put Warden at B rank tier, and let me know in the comments how y'all feel about that. I don't know if some of you were like, this will never happen, or, you know, I don't know, just let me know. Now, another class I just kind of want to get out of the way right now is Mariner. Now, Mariners, I'm just going to put them right at the C rank tier just because I still haven't played them for that long. I've maybe had like a total of 10 hours of playtime on them, so I don't feel like I still have a proper enough judgment to really, you know, add them to the tier list. I would just say from the little bit that I played when they initially came out, they had a very nice support-based system, very similar to like Burglars and Wardens. I really think that the class concept is great, but I think that some of the skills, there were quite a lot when I first played it, and I feel like some of those skills could have been fleshed out or a little bit like easier to kind of comprehend. I really like the balance system with Mariner. There's still a couple reworks I think that could be made with the class, but they could have been made and I just haven't really played it recently enough to even judge. So I'm just gonna put it in the middle of the line, C ranking. Nothing against it, I just don't know that much about it right now. Next class I'm going to talk about is the champion class. Now, I will go on record and say that I think that champions are still one of the easier classes to learn, especially for new players in the game. And I think champions are a great class, but I'm not gonna lie, I played a champion recently and I was just so dang bored. And I think the problem is that champions are very well notable for having AoE skills, or at least that's always how they've been portrayed to me. But I think that their AoE kind of sucks. Like, if I'm gonna not lie, like, I don't get the hype of them. I used to play champion a lot. It was one of my mains back in the day, in the great LOTRO days, you know? But I won't lie, I think that champions kind of definitely need a rework right now. I really was bored when I last played a champion, which was like a month or two ago. And then I ended up going and playing a Minstrel, and I had a way more enjoyable time with a Minstrel. It could just be me personally. I used to love champion. Like I said, it was a main of mine back then, but I think they've kind of fallen off. I think they're a little overrated. So I'm sorry, champions. You're a D-list now for me. I'm sorry, okay? Next class I really want to talk about as well is Beorning. Now, I freaking love Beornings. I think Beornings are almost gonna be on like the very top of my list. In fact, they're number 2, I think, on my current list of like classes that I like from like, you know, best to worst. So I'm obviously just gonna put Beorning. I'm gonna put him at S tier, okay? I'm going all in now. I feel like Beornings are so tough. I'm not gonna lie, they are a little OP, I won't lie, okay? They're just a smidge. They're basically like a tank. Their DPS output is crazy, and the fact that I feel like I can do a good amount of damage in human form when I'm not even in my tough bear form, I think that's so freaking cool. I love Beornings because they have just so much stamina, or like power, or wrath, as they would say in the game. Plus, I mean, who doesn't like being a bear? The concept is awesome. Also, I just now realized this tier list did not have Brawler, which Brawler is also like an offhand tank DPS based class, definitely known for fighting with its fists, so pretty good. The next class I want to mention here is Minstrel. So Minstrels are actually one of my longest, most played classes in the game, definitely one of the first classes I mained, and I think that they're still an impeccable class. I think Minstrels are just a lot of fun because, I mean, you get to shout at things, and I personally love the shouting mechanics that you have and the vocals in Lord of the Rings Online. But no, in all seriousness, I think that Minstrels hold one of the best DPS outputs, and I'm sorry, when you solo, it's pretty much all about DPS, if you ask me, and survivability. I don't think minis have the best survivability when it comes down to like their armor value, but I just think overall, like attack damage wise, they are so survivable in that aspect because you can just quickly take out enemies, and then also their AoE abilities help tremendously as well. So anyway, I'm putting Mini on S list here as well. Another class I want to talk about is Burglar. Now, Burglars don't have the best, I would say, likability in the game. In fact, I would say that I was going through my friends list and I was running a poll on a stream once, and people said that they figured that Burglars were one of the least played classes. And I went through my friends list, and my friends list reflects that. I don't know about yours, so let me know in the comments how your current LOTRO friends list looks like, and if Burglars are your lowest amount of friends, I guess, that you have. But anyway, I think that Burglars definitely have a good mentality of either being like extremely loved or extremely hated. The stealth abilities for Burglars are definitely a big part in their class, and some people just don't like stealth, so I understand. But I am personally not someone who really cares too much about stealth, let alone in LOTRO. I'm not really a fan of the stealth mechanics and all of that in this game, but either way, I just think that this class is one that's super enjoyable for me because I love the like gamble animations, the debuffs and buffs mostly that they offer. And I just overall think that they're a really good class to even solo because they offer more buff abilities that could help you. But I think overall people don't want to look at that. Like, I really love that burglars have more corruption based skills, which can really debuff your mobs that you're going up against. I think that this offers a really good way of being able to solo quickly, but it's all because of how you know how to play the character. I just think that they overall have a really good ability. It's just the learning curve of understanding them that I don't think not everybody enjoys, but I do. So I think the burglars are a solid B-list here. The next class I want to mention is Guardian, and Guardians are, like I said, the OG tank, but I think that Guardians still have decent DPS. I think that they could be really cool, especially if you almost take away their shields. Like, I really like that they offer a two-handed sword that you can do, and I think that I see a lot of people doing Guardians with that sort of capabilities as well. I just think that Guardians could definitely hold maybe more faster mechanics to get them through killing, especially when soloing. They're just not up to par anymore in terms of like even damage output. Definitely more defensive based as they should be because they have shields and they are supposed to be tanks mostly. I mean, that's what they were created for originally in the game. So I can certainly still see why that's important, but soloing wise, I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's not even that tough of a class anymore because I do feel like Beornings are way more OP when it comes to some of that stuff. And not only that, I think Wardens are even better in some circumstances than Guardians when it comes to defense and evasion techniques as well. I think I'm just going to put Guardian at a solid C for those reasons. Next class to mention here is Rune-Keeper. I've been maining a Rune-Keeper for about 3 years, almost 4 years now, wow. And it's been a lot of fun. There's been ups and downs I have with the Rune-Keeper. I think overall they're a pretty good class when it comes to DPS. Lots of fun, especially the yellow line. But I won't lie that I do feel like they're just not as robust or as strong in either the DPS side or even the healing side because they are meant to be a more flexible class. But it's nice that Rune-Keepers are kind of in the middle, but I think overall just go Minstrel. I mean, the range is just a little bit wider. They definitely have about the same kind of capabilities for their AoE skills and their damage output skills, just like Rune-Keeper. There's more appeal to playing a Minstrel to me than a Rune-Keeper. So I'm just going to put them at beer rank tier as well. Not a bad class, but I think just with the reasons I've mentioned, there's honestly no reason just to play a Minstrel. You're going to have better outcomes and outputs in most case scenarios than a Rune-Keeper. Now, the next class I want to mention here is going to be Hunters. I have drastically changed my perspective on Hunters. I still think that they're great for new players. I like that they offer travel and port abilities, which always seems to be such a huge appeal. Their long range capabilities are awesome too, but I just think overall Hunters are just not my class anymore personally. And if this is going to be more of like a personal ranking video, I want to make this clear and cut easy for y'all. Hunters aren't as fun because they're just too quick. I think they need to slow down or maybe increase cooldowns for the class. I feel like with a hunter, it's almost no excuse that you have an enemy close to you. But if you don't even have an enemy who's gonna be able to hit you half the time, it's kind of like boring. It's like going through a meadow and then going through and just slicing everything that can't even touch you. Like, what's the point? It's not fun. You're just literally slaughtering things. But no, in all seriousness, I do think that hunters are almost a little too OP in some of their long-range abilities. I mean, they have to be, but at the same time, I think that it's almost a little bit boring because of that. I just think that they need a rework desperately right now, which I know that they are really going to focus on. I won't lie though, the last time I played a hunter, I actually quit it. I deleted it and I was like, maybe I'm just having an off day. And that was like 3 months ago. And then just a month ago, I made another hunter and I had the same exact feeling. I was like, if I'm not gonna get hit or, you know, have some sort of like combat going on and it's just me like, you know, just quickly doing my arrows and all of that, I mean, there's no fun in that. What's the point? What's the point of even having armor? Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should do like a naked man hunter challenge or something. Either way, I just drastically have not found hunters enjoyable. I'd just much rather play something that would have some long range capabilities, but then also clearly have some sort of like combat going on, or at least something where the mobs can at least hit you and then you can hit back and then exchange damage. And there you go to the D-list hunter. You know what? I'm gonna change this. I'm going F-list. I just find them so boring. Next class we're gonna talk about is captain. Now, I have recently played a captain. I put my captain on the highest landscape difficulty, and I have had a blast with captain. I think captain and warden, I think are only good on landscape difficulty. I think they're like the two classes that almost need it. It's so well-rounded. You can literally have your pet act like you're a tank. Same thing with lore masters, they have a similar capability. But I just think with captains, you do feel tougher, and I think that does go a long way with them. You certainly have nice buffs and debuffs for, you know, skills and for people who are around you, and I think that those reasons alone, they're very helpful, well-rounded class, great for soloing in that aspect. So I definitely have changed my perspective on them. They're going A-list. Now that we're down to the final two, I want to go ahead and just get this over with, alright? You know my feelings about Lore Master. I've never been a huge fan of them. They have a lot of crowd control orientations and stuff like that. Kind of very similar to captains in a lot of ways, that they have pets, but Lore Masters definitely are weaker because they have light armor, captains have heavy, and then also, of course, the other side of it is that Lore Masters do have longer ranged ability skills and more of them that they can use in comparison to captains. So there are some benefits there. I will say that I just feel like Lore Masters are still kind of squishy. They're not quite where they are and where they need to be, but they're also not a bad class, especially for soloing. They're not really the best to solo because of how squishy they are, but if you know how to play them, it does certainly help. It's almost like Burglar in that aspect. I just think that Lore Masters are, they're a good middle of the road class for soloing, so I'm gonna put them at the C list here. I think A list for captains, because I did get this comment a lot too. Captains are very similar to Lore Masters, everybody was telling me in a couple different videos, but I think that the big difference for me between the two is because the armor value aspect to the class. And then Brawler, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it at A-list here as well. I've had a lot of fun with the Brawler. Definitely got really cool animations, and their survivability aspect is fantastic. Overall, this is my ranking for the LOTRO classes for soloing. This is just my personal list, but I hope that this kind of gives you some sort of insight of what you can expect from the classes, and overall just how the classes might feel in this current time period in the game. And let me know down in the comments what you have to say, whether or not you agree with Hunter being on my lowest F ranking tier list of today, and then also if you agree with Beorning and Minis being on the S tier list and at the tippy top. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know, and of course, you better stay weird, you weird weirdos.